I'm standing in my parents' hallway in Westchester, New York, with one hand pressed against the cool beige wall, like it might hold me up if my knees give out. My other hand is clenched so tightly around a wedding planner notebook that the cardboard cover is digging into my palm. The dining room door is just barely open. A thin triangle of light spills into the hallway. The smell of my mom's pot roast and rosemary drifts out, warm and familiar in that way that makes your chest hurt when your childhood and your present collide. I wasn't supposed to be here yet. I left Brooklyn early because one of my UX stakeholder meetings finished ahead of schedule. Shockingly, no one derailed it to argue about button colors. I thought I'd swing by, say hi, maybe show my mom the Pinterest board I'd finally organized for the wedding. Instead, I get this. She'll cover it. She's always been good with money, my mom says, her voice drifting through the crack like smoke. I freeze. Dad chuckles, that low hum I've heard my whole life. Well, she does work in tech now. What's the title again? UX something? UX designer, Dad Melissa corrects him. All patience and perfection. It's basically like she makes apps look pretty and easy to use. My jaw tightens. Whatever, not the point. Mom lets out a delighted little laugh that makes something cold crawl down my spine. Exactly, she makes good money. And she doesn't have kids yet, or a mortgage. It just makes sense. Plus, Melissa adds, and I can actually hear the smirk in her voice. I mean, she already helped us once. That's what little sisters are for, right? Dad doesn't disagree. He laughs. They all laugh. It's light and casual and so confident that my fingers go numb. I try to breathe, but it feels like all the air in the hallway has been replaced with fog. My grip loosens. The notebook slips from my hand and lands on the carpet with a soft, pathetic thud. I don't pick it up. Listen, Melissa continues, her tone shifting into that fake humble, fake grateful register she uses for Instagram stories. If we combine the events, it'll be huge. My mom sighs dreamily. A beautiful family celebration. Your 10-year anniversary and Harper's wedding all in one. Can you imagine the photos? My heart stops. Wait. My wedding? My name? My brain scrambles to catch up with the words pouring out of that room. Dad clears his throat. It's practical, too. One venue. One caterer. One band. It's smart. And frankly, Melissa's 10-year anniversary deserves just as much attention as Harper's wedding. Maybe more. Maybe more. I feel my ears ringing, that high, buzzing sound you get when you stand up too fast. Exactly, Melissa says. The queen of agreement, when everything revolves around her. And like we said, Harper can take care of the bigger chunk. We'll help with the sentimental stuff, the slideshow maybe. I swallow hard. My tongue feels thick and useless. Mom lowers her voice like she's letting them in on a secret. We told the planner that Harper will be paying for everything once the contracts are finalized. It's practically done. She always helps. She never complains. She's the responsible one. There it is, the phrase I've heard my entire life, wrapped in pastel paper and tied with a gilt ribbon. The responsible one. That's what little sisters are for. Have you ever heard a sentence you've listened to your entire life suddenly sound like a verdict? My vision blurs at the edges. I press my palm harder into the wall to stay anchored. My lungs can't seem to remember how to do their job. I'm not 30 yet. I'm 29, a UX designer in a Brooklyn studio, engaged to a man who actually listens when I speak, Ethan. My fiancé who calls me Harps and asks about my day like he means it. And right now, I am not in Brooklyn. I'm 10 years old again. I'm 10, standing in this same hallway in a sparkly t-shirt with a unicorn on it, clutching a Barbie doll. It's my birthday. Mom opens the box with my name on it, but hands it to Melissa first. Let your sister show you, honey, she says. She's older. She'll help you. Melissa pulls the doll out, squealing. Oh my God, it's the one I wanted. She wanted. Everyone laughs like, it's adorable. Look what a good sharer Melissa is, Aunt Denise says. Letting you play with her new doll on your birthday. My doll, my birthday. I remember smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. Because I've already learned, if I say what I'm really thinking, the room goes quiet and Mom's eyes get tight. "We don't cause trouble, Harper," she says later as she puts away the leftover cake. "Your sister's special day needed that little boost, but it was my. You're the mature one. You understand." Do I? Did I? The hallway snaps back into focus. I back away from the dining room door as carefully as if it might explode if I bump it. My heels are silent on the carpet as I move, one foot, then the other. The walls feel closer somehow, like the house is breathing around me. I make it to the front door before my legs start shaking. Outside, the air is cold and smells like wet leaves. It's late October, New York chill threading under my coat. I walk down the driveway like I'm underwater. My hands are numb as I fumble with my keys, slide into the driver's seat of my car, and close the door. The silence is loud. My wedding planner notebook is still inside on the floor, pages bent. I can't bring myself to go back for it. My phone glows up from the cue folder. Ethan. I stare at his contact photo for exactly 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. I tap call. He answers on the second ring, voice warm and sleepy. He was probably stretching on the couch with a book, waiting for me to text I got here safe. "Hey, babe," he says, "you get there okay? How's the pot roast? 1 to 10? My throat closes. I try to speak, but what comes out first is a broken, awkward sound that makes him go quiet. Harps? I swallow and try again. This time my voice comes out thin, but controlled. "They're trying to do it again," I say. "Do what again?" His tone sharpens instantly. Ethan is calm, but not oblivious. Not when it comes to my family. The Melissa thing. The words feel tangled in my mouth. He's silent, letting me find my footing. It's one of the things I love about him. He never rushes me, even when I'm stumbling through my own story. I grip the steering wheel with my free hand until my knuckles go white. They want to combine the wedding with Melissa's 10-year anniversary. And they told the planner I'd pay for everything. They're already talking about it like it's done. Nothing but the faint sound of city noise through his apartment window on the other end. And I add, because the next words taste like acid, they said that's what little sisters are for, that I have good money, that I'm the responsible one. Ethan curses under his breath. He almost never does that. "Harper," he says, voice low, steadying. "Look at me." "I can't look at you, you're on the phone." The joke slips out automatically, shaky and thin, but it still makes him huff out a breath that's almost a laugh. "Okay, fair," he says. "Imagine looking at me. Then—" I close my eyes and do. His brown eyes, the little line on his nose from when he broke it falling off his bike in 6th grade. The way his eyebrows lift when he's trying not to roll his eyes at a client request. "Breathe," he says. "In 4, out 6. Like Dr. Patel taught you." I obey. "In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The buzzing in my ears dials down from deafening to merely annoying. "I'm not doing it again," I whisper. "I swear, Ethan, I am not doing it again." "I know," he says softly. No doubt, no hesitation. "That was the last time. We promised that together, remember?" I remember, but my brain, traitor that it is, also remembers the first time. I'm 19 in this memory, not 10. I'm sitting in our old living room, laptop open on my knees. Acceptance email to Parsons School of Design glowing on the screen. A tiny piece of my dream. Dad calls me into his office, all for serious, asking me to sit down, kiddo. He explains that Melissa's fiancé, Adam, got laid off. The wedding venue they picked is expensive. The deposits are due. Their credit cards are maxed out. Mom hovers in the doorway, arms crossed, playing silent jury. "We know you got that scholarship," Dad says. "And we know you've been working at that cafe." I nod, cautiously hopeful he's about to congratulate me. Instead, he continues, "You've saved up a good chunk, haven't you?" My stomach drops. "Harper," Mom says, stepping in, her voice patient, patronizing. "Your sister." She deserves the wedding she's always dreamed of. She's the first one getting married. The whole family is excited. I'm excited too, I say, because I am. I adore my sister. Even then, even after a lifetime of being her supporting character. And you'll have your time. Dad's smile is gentle, like he's explaining math to a child. You're young. You've got plenty of years for school and weddings and all of that. Right now, Melissa needs us. U.S., which, as it turned out, meant me. If you really love your sister, Mom adds, and I swear she practices that sentence in the mirror, you'll help. I'll help by cashing out my college fund, transferring my savings, $15,000. I sign the bank forms with a hand that doesn't feel attached to my body. The teller gives me a polite congratulations on supporting your sister's dream. Melissa cries when she finds out, hugs me so tight my ribs hurt. You're my favorite person, she says. You know that, right? I'll pay you back one day, I swear. One day never comes. I watch her dance at that country club wedding under fairy lights. I stand in a bridesmaid's dress that cost me an entire month's worth of cafe tips, listening to the band play Ed Sheeran while she spins in a gown worth more than my car. That night, I go to the bathroom, lean my forehead against the cool tile, and whisper to myself, never again. I whisper it again when I drop out of school a semester later because the scholarship covered tuition but not rent. Books, commute. My boss at the cafe can't give me enough hours. Mom says you can always go back. What's the rush? Melissa needed you now. Never again. Except, here I am, 29, back in the same neighborhood, hearing the same lines, like someone hit replay on my life. Harps, Ethan says, pulling me back to the present. Talk to me. I search for the word. Stupid. You are many things, he says, but you are not stupid. I believe them, I say. I believed them when they said it was temporary, that they'd help later. That family comes first. I left school. I rebuilt. I hit reset on my entire life, and now they're just trying to use you again, he finishes. That's what they're doing. But here's the thing, babe. You're not 19 anymore. I know. You're not living in their house. You're not financially dependent on them. You're a UX designer in Brooklyn who survived layoffs twice, negotiated a raise, and taught an entire team of engineers why the back button matters. You're not that girl anymore. I swallow. What do I do? He's quiet for a moment. I can hear him thinking. I can almost see him rubbing his temple the way he does when he's mapping out a tricky product roadmap. This time, he says slowly, we don't react. We act. You don't just scream and storm out because that's what they expect, and it lets them paint you as overly emotional. He's right. They love that narrative. This time, he continues, we gather information. We figure out exactly what they've promised on your behalf. We decide what you want, what we want, and then we set boundaries. Real ones. With consequences. My heart is still racing, but it starts to beat in a more organized rhythm. Harper, he says, voice gentle now. We've talked about this in therapy. You cannot control what they do, but you absolutely can control what you agree to and what you pay for. We're a team. I've got you. I let my head fall back against the headrest, eyes closing. Outside, a leaf scrapes across the windshield like a tiny hand. Have you ever smiled on the outside while everything inside you was burning? I murmur, more to myself than to him. Every time I'm in a client meeting where someone says, "Can we just make it pop?" He says dryly. A wet, surprised laugh bursts out of me. Feels ridiculous and necessary. There she is, he says softly. I wipe my face with the back of my hand, even though I didn't realize I was crying. They're going to expect me to say yes. I know. And if I say no, they're going to say I'm ungrateful. They'll bring up every sacrifice they ever made. I know. And they'll probably text you too, because they like you, and they'll say, talk some sense into her, Ethan. He snorts. They can try. I take a deep breath. Okay, so phase 1, find out what they've already done. Exactly. You're staying there tonight, right? Yeah, Mom insisted. It's been too long. I mimic. Good, he says. Check their email if you can. The family computer, paperwork, anything that mentions your name or your card. Screenshot everything. We'll loop in Jenna if we have to. Jenna, my friend from my first UX boot camp who went to law school instead. She owes me 3 portfolio reviews. She'll be thrilled to convert that into legal advice. Harps? Ethan says. Say it. Say what? He knows me too well. Say the thing. The thing! I don't have to pay for their choices, I say quietly. He doesn't jump in, doesn't rush to finish the rest for me. He waits. I am allowed to set boundaries, I add. What else? He prompts. I am not their emergency fund. I am not their retirement plan. I am not Melissa's sponsor. My voice grows steadier with each sentence. And, he asks, and if they choose to ignore my boundaries, they also choose the consequences. There she is, he says again. I can hear the smile in his voice. Text me if you need me. If you want, I can drive up later tonight. I think of him walking into my parents' flawless suburban house in his beat-up sneakers and denim jacket, telling them all to back off. The mental image makes me smile. I'll be okay, I say. But keep your phone on. It's always on for you. I love you. I love you too. We hang up. I sit in the car for a long time, watching tiny drops of fog bloom on the windshield. Then I take another breath, the kind that feels like putting on armor, and go back inside. The casual family dinner that Mom insisted on has upgraded itself. The good china is out, the polished silverware, candles flickering in crystal holders. The table looks like a Thanksgiving spread in a magazine, except it's just October. They want something. They want everything. Harper, you're early, Mom says when I walk back in, cheeks flushed from the stove. You didn't have to come so soon. I hang my coat, forcing my voice into something resembling calm. Traffic was good. If she notices my wedding planner notebook is missing from my hand, she doesn't comment. Melissa breezes into the dining room right on cue, like the star arriving on set. She's in a cream sweater dress that probably costs more than my monthly Metro card. Her hair is in loose waves that look effortless and took at least 40 minutes. Baby sis, she squeals, arms wide, as if she didn't just offer my bank account to the event planning gods. She kisses my cheek, leaving a faint smear of lipstick. I was just talking about you. I bet you were. Dad appears behind her with 2 bottles of wine and his "I'm about to announce something" smile. The bride is here, he declares. I flinch at the word. We sit. We serve. We pretend. Dinner starts with the usual script. Questions about my job, so UX. Remind me what that stands for again? About the subway, is it still, dangerous? About Ethan, is he still doing that product thing? We glide over the surface like ice skaters who know exactly where the thin patches are. My heart is pounding so loudly that I almost miss the pivot. Well, Mom says after a few bites of pot roast, laying her fork down with that particular sort of all wisdom energy. Now that we're all here, we actually had the most brilliant idea. Here we go. Ethan's imaginary voice in my head says, observe, don't react. I take a sip of water. Yeah? Dad beams like the MC. Your mother and Melissa have been talking, and I think you're going to love this. Melissa reaches into her oversized tote bag and pulls out a tablet with a pink case. She taps a few times, then turns it to face me. On the screen is a mood board, blush and gold and white. A big ballroom, a long banquet table, a photo of a couple kissing under chandeliers. And next to them, another couple cutting an anniversary cake. We thought, Melissa says, eyes shining, that we could combine your wedding. She says it like she personally invented the concept with our 10-year anniversary party. Isn't that like the cutest idea ever? 2 milestones in one night. Double the love. She pushes the tablet closer to me like it's a puppy I just have to adopt. My fingers tighten around my fork. You want to combine them? Mom nods enthusiastically. It's symbolic. You starting your marriage as your sister celebrates 10 years? It shows stability, family, tradition. We could even do a special joint dance. The photographer will love it. Dad adds, and it's practical. One venue, one set of vendors. We've already been in touch with a few, so it's not like we're starting from scratch. I glance at the tablet. There's a photo of Rosebridge Estate, a historic mansion turned event space with a sweeping staircase and manicured lawn. I once Googled it for fun. Average wedding costs there is what I make in half a year. Look, Melissa says, swiping to reveal a spreadsheet. She's color-coded it. Of course she has. Decor, catering, DJ, champagne tower. Live string quartet for cocktail hour. Funk band for dancing. Floral installations that look like something out of a Vogue spread. And of course, Mom chimes in, we'd want you to have your own touches, your own cake, your own vows. It's still your wedding day, sweetie. We're just enhancing it. Enhancing it. My chest tightens. Harper always helps out, Dad says, reaching over to pat my shoulder like, it's already done. She's our practical one. Our responsible girl. My responsible girl. There it is again. A lifetime of conditioning tied up in one phrase. All eyes are on me. This is the moment where, historically, I say yes. Automatically, immediately. The good daughter, oiling the family machine so it never stutters. But Ethan's voice is in my head and Dr. Patel's too. And my own voice from that bathroom years ago, whispering, never again. So I take a breath, and I say, I need to think about it. The silence that follows is almost funny. Mom's smile falters like someone hit a glitch in her animation. Dad blinks. Melissa's fork freezes halfway to her mouth. What do you mean? Melissa asks, a little laugh at the end like she's sure this is a misunderstanding. Think about what? It's perfect. I get that it's exciting, I say carefully. But it's my wedding. Ethan and I need to talk and decide what we want. We haven't agreed to anything yet. Mom studies my face like she's encountering a stranger. Sweetheart, everyone is going to love this idea. We've already mentioned it to some friends, and they think it's genius. We've told people already. The words slip out sharper than I intended. Dad waves a hand. Just floated it, casually. You know how word spreads. People are thrilled. People are thrilled. I swallow. I still need to think about it. Dad chuckles, but there's an edge now. That's our Harp. Always needs her spreadsheets. He means it as a joke. I let it be. Mom picks up the mashed potatoes and passes them like a peace offering. You'll come around, she says lightly. You always do. Under the table, my hand curls into a fist. My nails bite into my palm. I smile. I nod. On the outside, I play the part. Inside, something is shifting. Have you ever smiled and nodded while silently rewiring your entire life? Because that's what it feels like. That night, I tell Mom I'll sleep in my old room. Just like when you were little, she says, kissing my forehead. We can have coffee tomorrow morning and look at dresses online. Sure, I say, but I'm not staying up for coffee and dresses. I'm staying up to dig. The house is quiet by 11. Dad's thunderous snores rumble through the wall. Mom's soft, periodic coughs. Melissa's laugh echoing faintly through her speakerphone as she talks to someone. Probably telling them how adorable her joint anniversary wedding concept is. I slip out of bed, the floor cold under my feet. Old habits kick in. I know which steps creak, where to step on the edges instead of the middle. I move through the darkness like a kid sneaking extra cookies. Except this time, the stakes are higher than sugar. Dad's home office smells like paper and dust and the faint tong of old printer ink. The glow from the family desktop monitor is a small rectangle in the darkness. They never log out. I slide into the chair. My heart hammers so hard I'm sure it's audible. I open my mom's email. The password is the same as it's been since I was 15. My sister's birthday. Of course. The inbox is a mess of promotions and forwarded jokes, but I type Rosebridge into the search bar and hit enter. 3 threads pop up. One labeled Rosebridge Estate, Joint Celebration, Harper and Melissa. My hands shake as I click. I skim. I go back and read properly. Dear Mrs. Green, we're delighted at the prospect of hosting both your eldest daughter's 10-year anniversary celebration and your youngest daughter's wedding in one magical evening. As discussed on the phone, we will proceed with preliminary holds for the ballroom, terrace, and bridal suite. We understand that your younger daughter, Harper, will be covering the majority of the expenses. I stop there. The word majority blurs on the screen. My stomach twists. Scrolling. Mom's reply, yes, Harper will be taking care of the financial side once the contracts are finalized. She's very responsible with money. Please send all invoices to my email for now. I click another thread. Flowers. The planner. We can absolutely do dual focal points for both couples. Per your note, we'll keep the palette similar to Melissa's original wedding, but upgrade the arrangements for a more mature, sophisticated look. Please confirm that your younger daughter is comfortable with the projected floral budget. Mom's response, don't worry about Harper. She wants everything to be perfect for her sister. Cost is not an issue. Cost is not an issue. I click another. A spreadsheet attachment stares back at me. green_events_budget_final.xlsx. I hesitate for half a second, then double-click. It opens to an organized, color-coded fantasy of someone else's perfect night. Venue, $28,000. Catering, $18,000. Open bar upgraded package, $7,500. Live band, $9,000. String quartet, $4,000. Custom florals, $8,500. Photography and videography, $6,500. Decor, lighting, rentals, $5,200. Special touches, photo booths, ice sculpture, fireworks, $6,000. Total, $92,200. At the bottom in bright pink font that can only be Melissa's, a note. Harper's responsibility, primary. Mom and Dad, secondary if needed. The room tilts for a second. I blink hard. I scroll further. Tab R, Pet, deposits listed. Tiny green check marks. Venue deposit, $6,000, a PED. Band deposit, $2,000. Florals deposit, $1,500, PED. Decor deposit, $1,000, PED. In the corner, a note, paid with H's card, she won't mind, she's family. Except I never gave them my card for this. My throat goes dry. I open a new browser tab and log into my bank. The numbers load slowly, each second a drum beat. There they are. Charges I didn't recognize last month but assumed were some autopay I'd forgotten about. Because that's what we're trained to think, right? That we're the ones who messed up. Rosebridge Estate pre-hold, $6,000. Gilded Lily Floral, $1,500. Lumiere Events Decor, $1,000. Night Shift Music CO, $2,000. My card. My name. My stomach churns. Have you ever looked at your own bank statement and felt like you were reading a confession someone forged with your signature? Because that's what it feels like. I screenshot everything, the emails, the spreadsheets, the charges. I airdrop them to my phone so there's no trace in the recent items. My hands are still shaking when I notice a small leather-bound notebook half tucked into Dad's desk drawer. My mom's handwriting on the first page. Her neat, looping script. I know I shouldn't, but I've crossed that line already. I flip to the back, to the most recent entry. September 4th. Talked with Melissa about making the event more special. Harper will understand. She's always been the practical one, our rock. It's only money. Family memories are priceless. September 20th. James renewed his golf membership. He really needs the stress relief with all this event planning. The money will work itself out. Harper makes good money. She'll help. She always does. October 2nd. Sometimes I think Harper resents Melissa. We've always poured so much into Melissa's milestones. But Harper needs less. She doesn't like the spotlight anyway. She's better as support. She'll thank us one day. She'll see we were right to invest in the right moments. Support. I closed the journal slowly, pressing my lips together so hard they hurt. My phone buzzes. It's Ethan. Everything okay? I take a photo of the screen with the spreadsheet and send it. His reply is immediate. This is not okay. You need to get your card blocked. Tonight. I nod without realizing it and open my banking app again. Fingers flying. Card. Freeze. New card. Requested. Autopay. Review later. I sit there in the glow of the monitor, the house breathing around me, my childhood shrinking in the rearview mirror of my mind. I open another app and tap on a contact, JESSUX, Buddy, and almost Lior. Can you talk? Emergency. Family plus money plus possible fraud. 3 dots appear almost immediately. Give me 5 minutes. Getting my laptop. The next morning, I'm back in Brooklyn, sitting at my tiny dining table with Ethan, a pot of coffee between us, my laptop open. Jessica is on video, hair up in a messy bun, glasses sliding down her nose. The law textbook behind her, making her look like an actual authority. This is messed up, she says after I finish walking her through the emails, the card charges, the spreadsheet, like, truly messed up, but not unusual. I blink, not unusual. Financial abuse in families, she says, happens all the time. They think because you're related, boundaries don't apply. But here's the thing. What they did with your card is actual, no exaggeration fraud. Using your stored info without explicit consent? Illegal. Even if they believe you would have said yes. Ethan's jaw flexes. What can we do? He asks. Jessica shrugs. You've already done the first step. Documentation, screenshots, statements. That's your armor. Now you decide what your line is, how far you're willing to go to enforce it. I nod slowly. I don't want to call the cops on my parents. No one said you had to, she says gently. But you can freeze your card, which you did. You can call the vendors and say you did not authorize further charges. You can put in writing email, not a phone call, that you are not responsible for any contracts you did not sign. And you can decide what you are willing and not willing to contribute. Ethan looks at me. We've talked about a budget, he says. The one we can actually afford. I think of the simple rooftop wedding we'd started sketching out. Small, under 50 people. Maybe a friend is a DJ, fairy lights from Amazon, food from our favorite Mediterranean place. Our wedding, not a family spectacle with dry ice and fireworks. I can contribute something, I say. I'm not saying I won't pay a cent for my own wedding, but I refuse to be the sole sponsor of Melissa's 10-year anniversary party. Good, Jessica says. You're allowed to draw that line. Actually, it's necessary. She leans closer to the camera. The biggest thing here is psychological. They've trained you to believe that saying no is cruel, that boundaries equal betrayal. You need to hang on to the truth. You are not doing anything wrong by protecting your finances. Ethan squeezes my hand under the table. Have you ever had to be the responsible one so long that you forgot you were allowed to be irresponsible with your own happiness? Jessica asks, half rhetorical, half to me. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. All the time. Well, she says, maybe this is your rebrand arc. Ethan's lips quirk. Harper 2.0. Exactly, Jessica says. Now go tell them the new release doesn't support exploitation. Over the next week, the pressure campaign starts. It's subtle at first. My mom sends photos of centerpieces to our family group chat. Which do you like better? These would look great on the joint head table. Joint head table. My dad calls to casually mention that he's been talking numbers with the venue and how grateful he is that we're taking this burden off of them. Melissa texts me a meme about sisters being built-in bridesmaids for life, followed by a selfie of her in a shimmering silver dress. Think this could work as my anniversary look? It'll contrast nicely with your gown. Not our looks. Not your shared day. Hers? Mine. Separated by a line I can suddenly see more clearly than ever. I respond minimally to all of it. Looks nice. We'll see? Ethan and I are still deciding. Every time my phone lights up again with another message. Another nudge. Another guilt-laced reminder that people are already so excited about the combined celebration. Then the emotional grenades start. Mom calls one afternoon while I'm working on a prototype. "You know your grandmother's heart hasn't been the same since last winter," she says, out of nowhere. She told me the other day that she's just praying to live long enough to see both her granddaughters celebrated together. Isn't that precious? I stare at the wireframe of a settings screen on my monitor and resist the urge to throw my mouse. "That's sweet," I say evenly. "We'll make sure she's there for the wedding and the anniversary," Mom adds, like it's a single word. "Don't make her worry, Harper. You know how stress can affect the heart." I hang up and put my head in my hands. Have you ever had someone use your grandmother's health as leverage to control your credit card? Because that's what it feels like. Dad calls 2 days later. "We've been looking at down payment numbers," he says, like we've been in this conversation together. For when you kids are ready to buy a house. "We were thinking that helping you out with that would be easier if we don't also have to contribute majorly to the celebration. You covering it is actually in your best interest in the long run." Melissa sends me a voice note at midnight. I don't understand why you're being weird about this," she says, fake crying. "I helped you get that job, remember? I introduced you to Mark at that networking event. You wouldn't even be in UX if it weren't for me. I just thought you'd want to share this with me." I put my phone face down and crawl into bed next to Ethan. "They're escalating," I whisper into the dark. "I know," he murmurs, pulling me against his chest. "That means you're doing something different." "How is that good?" "Because if you were still playing your old part, they wouldn't have to work this hard to push you back into it." I stare at the ceiling. What if I'm blowing this out of proportion? What if I'm just being selfish? He lifts my chin so I'm looking at him. His eyes are tired but steady. "Harper, if a stranger did this, used your card without permission, promised your money to vendors, guilt-tripped you about old people's health, you'd have called your bank and the police by now. The only difference is, this is family. And they taught you that family is allowed to trespass." I feel a tear slip into my hairline. What if I walk away and I regret it? "What if you don't walk away," he counters, "and you regret that every day of your marriage?" 2 weeks later, we're standing in the lobby of Rosebridge Estate. I told them we'd come. I told them Ethan insisted on seeing any venue before we decide. If I'm honest, a small part of me wants to see it too. The place that symbolizes everything I'm about to push back against. It's stunning. Course it is. High ceilings with ornate crown moldings, sunlight streaming through massive windows onto polished wood floors. A sweeping staircase that looks like it's been waiting for a dramatic entrance. Mom is practically vibrating. "Can't you just see it?" she whispers, gripping my arm. "You and Melissa on the stairs. Everyone watching. It's going to be magical. Magical. Or suffocating." The venue coordinator, a woman in a neat blazer with a clipboard, leads us into the ballroom, talks about options, drapery, lighting, a separate lounge area for whatever we want. "Perfect for the anniversary toast," Mom interjects, beaming. "And the first dance," the coordinator adds, misunderstanding the dynamics completely. "First dance?" Melissa laughs. "Oh, honey, we'll need multiple special dances." Ethan stays close to me, his presence like a tether. He listens as the coordinator mentions numbers, glancing occasionally at me, measuring my reaction. Finally, we're in a side room at a long table. The coordinator slides a heavy folder toward my parents. "So," she says, "if everything looks good, we can secure the date today with signatures and a 20% deposit. The rest can be paid in installments leading up to the event." Dad pulls out his pen like he's signing autographs. "Let's get this show on the road." "Wait," I say. All eyes swivel to me. Ethan squeezes my knee under the table. "Harper?" Mom's smile is still there, but her eyes have that tight glitter I recognize. "I just want to clarify something," I say, my voice surprisingly calm, "before anyone signs anything." The coordinator looks between us politely. "Of course. I've seen some emails," I continue, "in a budget spreadsheet, and some charges that hit my credit card." Mom flushes. "We were going to talk to you about those, sweetie. It was just Quicker in the moment. No, I say, and my voice is firmer now. Quicker is using your own card. What you did was use mine without asking. Dad's brows knit. We're family, Harper. We've never nickel and dimed each other like this. I'm not nickel and diming, I say. I'm stating a fact. You authorized charges on my card. You told this venue and others that I'd be responsible for the majority of the costs. Without my consent. The coordinator shifts in her seat. Is that not the case? She asks carefully. No, I say, looking directly at her. It is not. Melissa scoffs. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. You always help. You literally paid for half my wedding. Why are you acting like a victim now? Because she was a victim then, Ethan says quietly. It's the first time he's spoken in this room. Dad bristles. Now hold on. No, Ethan says, and there's steel in his tone that I've never heard with my family before. You hold on. You took her education fund. You told her she had time. You used guilt to make her feel like she had no choice. That wasn't support. That was exploitation. You know when someone says the thing you've never been allowed to say out loud? It's like a window opening in a stuffy room. My lungs suddenly find more air. I love this girl, Ethan continues, placing a steady hand on my back. And I will not start our marriage with her being financially railroaded into yet another grand gesture for someone else. The coordinator clears her throat. Legally speaking, she says, carefully neutral, we can only hold someone responsible for the contract if they have signed it, regardless of what was discussed verbally. Mom frowns. We told you Harper would pay. And that may be your internal family arrangement, the coordinator says. But from our perspective, the listed contract holders are the ones liable. I look at my parents, that's what I've been trying to say. Here's what I'm willing to do. I pull a folder out of my bag and slide a printed document onto the table. I will pay exactly $7,000 total toward my wedding expenses. I say, that's it. That's the number I can afford without going into debt, without sacrificing our future plans. I'm willing to put that toward a venue of our choosing, or toward a smaller celebration here if we decide this is worth it. But I will not subsidize a dual event that is primarily about Melissa's anniversary. I will not cover $92,000 of anything. Mom blanches. Harper, if you want this combined celebration this badly, I continue, you are free to sign the contract as is. I nod at the coordinator. You're adults. You can make that choice. But if you do so knowing that I have explicitly stated that my contribution is capped. It's good, and that I have not agreed to pay beyond that. Silence. Dad stares at me like he doesn't recognize me. Where is this coming from? He asks. This. Defiance. We raised you better than this. No, I say quietly. You raised me to be useful, to be backup, to see my own needs as negotiable if they conflict with Melissa's. I'm done. Melissa's eyes flash with something like fear hiding behind anger. So you're just going to ruin my anniversary because you suddenly care about boundaries? Grow up, Harper. Weddings are expensive. People help family. That's how it works. I am helping family, I say. I'm offering $7,000 we didn't even plan for. That's a lot of money. But your anniversary party is not my financial responsibility. Your husband's maybe. Yours. Mom and Dad's. Not mine. Ethan's hand is a solid anchor on my back. The coordinator looks like she wants to be anywhere but here. Snow, I say, nodding toward the contract again. If you sign for you. Not for me. Dad picks up the pen again. His hand trembles just slightly. He signs. Mom signs. Melissa leans over to add her signature with a flourish. I do not. The coordinator takes the paperwork, eyes flicking to me with something like respect. We'll email the official receipts tonight, she says. Thank you for choosing Rosebridge Estate. As we leave, Mom hisses under her breath, we will talk about this later. I'm counting on it, I say. Later that night, Ethan and I sit cross-legged on our living room floor in Brooklyn. surrounded by notebooks and open tabs of smaller, more intimate venues. Lake cabins, I say, scrolling. Botanical gardens, rooftop greenhouses. Oh my God, look at this backyard in Queens. Someone turned into a wedding venue. It's literally someone's grandma's garden. Ethan laughs. That feels more us. Yeah, I say softly. It does. We find it by accident. A small lakeside chapel upstate with worn wooden pews and wildflower meadows, paired with a family-run lodge that looks like it was built for cozy gatherings, not Instagram. The rental fee is a fraction of Rosebridge's deposit. We book it. I pay the deposit from my account, intentionally, without panic. How does it feel? Ethan asks. I stare at the confirmation email, like breathing. Like it's mine, I say ours. We build a list of people we actually want there, not dad's golf buddies, not mom's bridge club, not Melissa's coworkers who call me Mel's sister like that's my defining characteristic. Friends, Ethan's family who treat me like I'm already theirs. My grandmother who texts me emojis and secretly likes Ethan's tweets. A couple of cousins who pulled me aside at Melissa's wedding years ago to say, if you ever need to crash on my couch, you can. It's under 40 names. Small, Ethan says, but mighty. We plan everything around that. We pick food we like, not what will impress someone's boss. We choose a local band that plays indie covers instead of the top 40 showstopper my parents insisted we need. We decide there will be no bouquet toss. No manufactured drama. Just us. I still don't tell my parents. Not yet. When Melissa texts me a screenshot of a save-the-date draft that says celebrating, Love by 2, Melissa and Adam's 10-year anniversary plus Harper and Ethan's wedding. Asking which font I prefer, I reply with a non-committal, cute idea, talk soon. When Mom posts on Facebook about our girl's big night coming soon, I feel the familiar panic spike. Ethan takes my phone and sets it face down. Let them talk, he says. You're not responsible for managing other people's expectations when they built them without your consent. It's weird. The less I respond to their theatrics, the louder they get. Have you ever noticed that when you stop playing your assigned role, the entire cast panics? The day of the big joint celebration creeps closer. My parents send scheduled drafts. Melissa sends me a photo of her anniversary gown, white with silver embroidery that looks suspiciously bridal. Don't worry, she texts. Yours will still be special. I stare at the message for a long time. I don't reply. 2 weeks before Rosebridge, Ethan and I drive up to the lake chapel with Jessica and Ethan's sister Abby. We walk under tall pines to the dock where we'll say our vows. The air is crisp. The water is mirror still. This feels like a movie, Jessica says, snapping photos. The good kind, not the family drama kind. Abby links her arm through mine. Our parents are so excited, she says. They can't stop talking about how happy you look. Happy. It hits me then. I am happy, even with the looming confrontation, even with the financial minefield. I am more myself in this place than I have ever been in my parents' house. Are you sure you're okay with all of this? I ask Ethan that night as we sit by the lodge's fireplace, going over the final details. He looks at me like I've asked if he's sure he likes oxygen. Harper, he says, I am marrying you, not your family, not Rosebridge, you. If the price of that is a few tense conversations and some social media fallout, that's a bargain. I rest my head on his shoulder. You know they're going to spin this, I say. They're going to tell our relatives that I ditched them, that I humiliated them, that I abandoned the real wedding. He hums, then maybe it's good we're having photo evidence of the actual real wedding. The week before our lake ceremony, I get a text from Mom. Need to finalize menu with Rosebridge by Friday. Please confirm you're okay with paying the balance on the premium seafood station. I stare at the screen. Premium seafood station, $4,500. I type slowly. As I've said before, I will contribute a maximum of $7,000 total to wedding-related expenses. I will not be paying any additional balance to Rosebridge. That is between you, Dad, and Melissa. I hit send. The typing bubble appears, disappears, appears again. We'll talk about this when you get here, Mom replies. This is too big to handle over text. I put my phone down. I think it's time, I tell Ethan. Time for what? Time to stop just reacting, I say. Time to do the thing we keep talking about, the actual line in the sand. He nods. Then let's draw it. The morning of Rosebridge, Mom texts me at 7 a.m. Big day, so excited. Dress steaming, florals on their way. Be here by noon for hair and makeup. I'm in our Brooklyn apartment, in sweatpants, sipping coffee, watching Ethan assemble a rogue groomsman's gift box on the kitchen counter. Our big day isn't today. It's tomorrow at the lake. But I have a part left to play. I'm going to Rosebridge, I tell Ethan. He looks up, startled. What? Why? To end it, I say, in person, with receipts, with witnesses if needed. I don't want them spinning some story about how I ghosted with no explanation. He studies me. Are you sure? No. Yes, I say. He nods slowly. Then I'm coming with you. Rosebridge is even more polished with people in it. Guests in cocktail attire mill around the lobby, clutching programs that say celebrating a decade of love and a new beginning. There's a photo on an easel, Melissa and Adam from their wedding 10 years ago, next to a recent engagement shoot photo of Ethan and me. The symmetry is almost nauseating. A few relatives I recognize wave. Aunt Denise rushes over and kisses my cheek. There she is. She coos, our bride, and our anniversary queen. You girls always together. Not this time. Mom finds us before we can escape. Her eyes are already a little wild. Where have you been? She hisses. We were supposed to start hair an hour ago. I told you, I say calmly. I wasn't participating in this event as you planned it. She glances around, pasted-on smile widening for anyone watching. We can't do this here, she says through her teeth. You're not going to make a scene in front of everyone. I'm not making a scene, I reply. I'm here to be clear. That's all. Dad appears, face flushed, tie slightly askew. Harper, he says in that warning tone that used to make my stomach drop. You're late. The coordinator is waiting for your payment confirmation. My chest tightens, but I keep my voice level. I already told you in writing I will not be making any further payments. I pull a manila folder out of my tote bag. Ethan stands at my side, solid and silent. Here, I say, holding out the folder. These are copies of all the emails, the budget you made, the charges you put on my card without consent, and my explicit written statement about what I agreed to pay. That $7,000 has already gone toward our actual wedding. Mom blinks. Your what? Our wedding, I repeat, tomorrow at Lake Pine Chapel. She sways slightly, like the words physically hit her. You booked something else? She asks, voice thin. Yes, I say, because this isn't my wedding. This is your event, your performance. I never agreed to make my marriage a subplot in Melissa's anniversary party. Melissa chooses that moment to appear, flanked by bridesmaids and vapor trails of perfume. She's in a satin robe, hair in rollers, already looking like an ad. There you are, she trills. We need to start getting ready. They want to do a sisters getting glam montage for the video. She stops when she sees my clothes, jeans, a sweater, no bridle, anything. What are you wearing? She demands. My clothes, I say. Her eyes narrow. This isn't funny, Harper. We have a schedule. I hand her another set of papers from the folder. This is your schedule. This is your budget. This is your responsibility. She skim reads the top page, my highlighted notes about the legal responsibility of contract holders, not third parties who were named verbally. Her face goes pale. You wouldn't, she whispers. I already did, I say. Dad's face is a mottled red. You are going to ruin us, he says. Do you have any idea what happens if we can't pay this bill? They'll sue us. They'll take the house. My retirement. Your retirement, I say evenly, wasn't at risk when you used my card for deposits. It wasn't at risk when you decided golf was a necessity. but my education was negotiable. You created this risk, not me. Mom's eyes fill with tears. We're your parents, she says. We did everything for you. We paid for your childhood, your food, your clothes. You also told me my dreams could wait because Melissa's wedding couldn't, I say softly. You taught me that loving people meant erasing myself. I believed you for a long time. I don't anymore. A few guests in the lobby are openly watching now. I don't care. Have you ever reached the point where the humiliation of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of changing? I think I just did. Harper, please, Mom whispers. We have 150 guests upstairs. They're expecting a wedding and an anniversary celebration. You can't just walk away. I feel Ethan step closer. His shoulder brushes mine. I'm not walking away, I say. I'm stepping aside. This is your show. You can still have it. You can still toast Melissa and Adam's 10 years, dance, eat your overpriced seafood, take photos. You'll just have to pay for it yourselves. Melissa looks like she might faint or hit me. Or both. Tomorrow, I continue, Ethan and I are getting married at the lake with a small group of people who actually see us, who respect us. You're welcome to come. You're invited. If you can come as our family, not as our PR team. Dad laughs, but there's no humor in it. You think we'd show our faces after this? After you humiliate us in front of everyone we know? You don't need my help humiliating yourselves, I say quietly. You did that when you promised my money without asking. The coordinator clears her throat delicately from behind the front desk. She's clearly been listening. Mr. and Mrs. Green, she says. We do need the remaining portion of the balance confirmed before we can proceed with the full package. Otherwise, we'll need to adjust the services accordingly. Mom rounds on me. This is blackmail, she hisses. It's not blackmail, I say. It's a boundary. Ethan finally speaks. We're leaving, he says, hands sliding into mine. We're driving upstate. We have a rehearsal dinner to attend with people who actually want to celebrate us, not just what we can pay for. Mom steps toward me, tears streaming now. If you walk out that door, don't expect us to be there tomorrow. Don't expect anything from us ever again. I feel the old fear spike. No parents, no family holidays. No. We're proud of you posts on Facebook. Just a clean break. And yet, what have those things ever really been if they came with a price tag anyway? I look her in the eye. Then you'll be the ones walking away, I say. Not me. We turn. We walk out of Rosebridge. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears, but with every step toward the exit, I feel lighter. Outside, the air is fresh and cool. Ethan unlocks the car. We climb in. He exhales slowly. Well, he says, that was a lot. I laugh a little hysterically. Do you think I set the house on fire? He grins. Maybe, but it was already burning. You just stopped standing in it. The next day, I wake up in a small lodge room with sunlight slanting across the ceiling. My phone is buzzing. I turn it on and find a flood of notifications. Texts from Mom, from Dad, from Melissa. Where are you? This isn't funny. Everyone is asking about you. The officiant is leaving soon. The band wants to get paid. I scroll past them, heart steady. I open a group chat I made last week with the people who actually know the plan. Ethan, Jessica, Abby, two of my closest friends from work. The banner is a photo of the lake. Everyone's on their way. ETA 45 minute. You okay? Jessica's text from last night glows at me. I type, I'm okay. We confronted them at Rosebridge. It was messy. They're upset. But we walked away. Then I put my phone down. Hair and makeup are happening in a tiny room with 3 mirrors and 4 women who love me. Jessica zips up my simple white dress. Abby steadies my hand as I clip on earrings I bought myself from an Etsy seller. Not a family heirloom that would come with a speech about women in our family always choose sacrifice. I catch my reflection in the smudged mirror. I look like me. Not a mannequin, not a supporting character, just Harper. The ceremony is small, intimate. Ethan's dad officiates, voice cracking a little when he calls us two people who chose each other on purpose. We stand under an arch decorated with wildflowers Abby and I picked from the roadside that morning. The lake glitters behind us. The air smells like pine and possibility. I say my vows with my whole body. I spent a long time being what everyone needed, I tell Ethan, voice shaking slightly. Reliable, responsible, convenient. I forgot that I was allowed to need things too, to want things. You never asked me to shrink. You always asked me to stay. So I promise, in front of the people who see us, to never shrink around you, to grow with you, even when it's scary. He wipes his eyes and laughs. I wrote something about how you taught me to enjoy color-coded Figma files, he says, and now I feel inadequate. Everyone laughs. For real, though, he continues. You show up for people, Harps. Way beyond reasonable. You deserved someone to show up for you. I promise that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing. Not as your savior, just as your partner. We say I do with no witnesses judging the cost of the chair rentals. We kiss. In the distance, I imagine the chaos at Rosebridge, the late schedule, the whispers, the uncut cake. I imagine my parents trying to explain why their younger daughter isn't there. It's weird. I don't feel guilt. I feel grief. Grief for the version of me who would have stayed, who would have passed around plates of food she paid for, smiling thinly while Melissa toasted to family. At the Large that night, there's no champagne tower. There are mismatched bottles of Prosecco. There's no 5-tier cake. There's a single-layer tiramisu with crooked strawberries on top because my grandma insisted on making something herself. She's here. She hugs me so tight my ribs hurt. I told your mother, she whispers in my ear, that she made a mistake with you girls. Always putting one on a pedestal and the other to work below it. Took her too long to see you. I'm glad you saw yourself first. Have you ever realized that sometimes the oldest people in your life are the first to understand the newest version of you? It's something. Jessica plays DJ with a Bluetooth speaker and a playlist we made together. We dance on the grass. My dress gets muddy at the hem. I don't care. At some point, Abby checks her phone and bursts out laughing. You guys, she says, you have to hear this. She plays a voicemail from my mom. Her voice is raw, panicked. Abby, if you're with Harper, please tell her this is not a joke. The venue needs the balance tonight. Your Uncle Greg is furious. He had to leave early. Your grandfather is exhausted. This is a nightmare. They're saying we might have to. Her voice snaps, then lowers. We had to give them your father's retirement account information. Please, have her call me. She can't do this to us. The message ends in static. Everyone is quiet for a moment. Then Ethan raises his plastic cup. To my wife, he says softly, who chose herself. Finally, I raise mine too. To my freedom fee, I say. They look at me. The $15,000 I lost for Melissa's wedding, I explain. The $7,000 I paid to get this instead of that. That's the bill. And honestly, it was worth every penny. They cheer. We drink. The stars that night feel closer than they've ever been. The aftermath is exactly what I expected and nothing like I imagined. 3 days after the lake wedding, there's a knock on our apartment door in Brooklyn. I know who it is before I open it. Mom stands there, eyes swollen, makeup smudged. Dad looms behind her, jaws set. Melissa hangs back, arms crossed. Can we come in? Mom asks, voice brittle. Ethan appears behind me, hand resting lightly on my back. Sure, I say. For a bit, they step inside, looking around like they're entering enemy territory. Mom's gaze catches on a framed photo on the bookshelf, me and Ethan under the wildflower arch. Smiling so wide I barely recognize myself. You went through with it, she whispers. Without us? I invited you, I say. You chose not to come. Dad ignores that. He pulls a folded stack of papers from his jacket. Rosebridge invoices. I'd bet anything. We are now in debt up to our eyeballs, he says. Do you understand that? The venue charged us the full amount. The vendors expect payment. My retirement account is significantly depleted. I'm sorry you're in that position, I say, and I mean it, truly. But I didn't put you there. Mom lets out a strangled laugh. You walked out. You left us to explain to our family why our own daughter abandoned her wedding. People were whispering. Your grandfather was confused. Your aunt cried. Melissa had to make a speech about forgiveness without even mentioning your name. Melissa flinches at that, like maybe even she thought that was a step too far. I left an event I never consented to, I say, that you built on my bank account and my silence. We're your parents, Dad says. You owe us. I stare at him. I owed you food and shelter when I was a child. You gave me those things. You also gave me a belief that my life was negotiable in service of Melissa's. I've been paying off that debt for years. It's canceled now. Mom reaches for the framed lake photo. You replaced us, she says, voice trembling. You let these people, she gestures vaguely at the happy faces frozen in the picture, take our place. They didn't take your place, I say. You left it empty when you decided my wallet was more important than my presence. Melissa speaks up for the first time. Her voice is smaller than I've ever heard it. This wasn't supposed to happen like this, she says. You were supposed to understand. I look at her. Really look at her. She's wearing expensive loungewear, yes, but there are dark circles under her eyes. A crease between her brows I don't remember from before. She twists her wedding ring around her finger nervously. How exactly, I ask quietly, was this supposed to happen? She swallows, we thought. We thought you'd be happy to be part of something big. We thought you'd be proud to help. You always were. I always pretended to be, I correct her. There's a difference. Dad slaps the papers onto our coffee table. You can call it whatever you want, he says, but the reality is, we're stuck with this bill. You have good money. You and your tech job. You can pay it off in a few years. We are almost 60. This could ruin our retirement. I take a breath. I pull a folder from our shelf, my own stack of receipts. Ethan sits beside me. His presence is a silent, you're not alone. I've talked to a lawyer, I say. Everything I did, I documented. Every email, every statement. I am not legally responsible for the Rosebridge bill. You are. Mom gasps. You got a lawyer? You got a venue, I say. We all make choices. Dad stares at the papers in front of him like they're written in another language. You're really not going to help, he says slowly, like he can't quite process the words. I already helped, I say, 5 years ago when I handed over my college fund to pay for Melissa's country club wedding. And again, this year, when I paid for my own ceremony instead of asking you for help. That's enough. Mom shakes her head, tears spilling over. We sacrificed for you, she says. We worked long hours, we gave you everything, and this is how you repay us. You gave us what parents are supposed to give their kids, I say. Food, shelter, a start in life. You also gave me a script where my desires were negotiable and Melissa's were sacred. I'm rewriting that script. That doesn't erase what you did for me. It just stops the interest from compounding. Have you ever realized mid-argument that you're no longer trying to convince the other person, but just trying to tell the truth out loud for your own sake? It's weirdly freeing. Melissa looks from me to Ethan to the photos on the wall. Is this really what you want? She asks. There's no manipulation in her voice this time, just genuine confusion. Yes, I say simply. She bites her lip, even if it means not having us in your life? The question cuts deeper than I expect. Because I don't want to erase them. I want them to show up differently. I don't want to lose you, I say any of you. But I'm not willing to keep you at the cost of myself. If the only way you know how to be in my life is through my bank account, then yes, I will choose distance. Silence. Mom collapses onto our couch, head in her hands. We can't afford this, she sobs. You're making a huge mistake. How could you do this to your own family? Ethan stands, walks to the kitchen, returns with a box of tissues. He sets it on the coffee table, not unkindly. I'm sorry you're in pain, he says quietly. None of this is easy. But Harper didn't do this to you. She did something for herself. For us. You just don't like the side effects. Dad glares at him. You turned her against us. No, I say, standing too now. He stood beside me while I turned back toward myself. Melissa suddenly laughs, a short, bitter sound. Wow, she says. Listen to you. Therapist phrases and everything. I meet her gaze. I started therapy after your wedding, I say. Did you know that? She blinks. Why? Because I realized I had spent 19 years thinking my life was an optional side quest, I say. I needed help remembering it was the main story, for me at least. She drops her eyes. There's a beat of quiet. Finally, I walk to the door and open it. You're welcome to leave whenever you're ready, I say. I'm not kicking you out, but I'm not changing my mind. Mum looks up, mascara streaked. So that's it. You're choosing him over us. This isn't a competition, I say. I'm choosing me. And he happens to be on my side. Dad storms out first. Mom follows, pausing in the doorway. One day, she says, voice shaking, you'll have children. And you'll understand what it feels like when they turn on you. I think of little future humans, maybe, and what I would want for them. I hope, I say quietly, that if they ever turn on me, it's because I ignored their boundaries. And I hope I have the courage to listen. Melissa lingers. You really meant it? She asks. The invite? For the lake wedding? Yes, I say. She swallows. I thought you were bluffing. I thought you'd cave like always. I know, I say. That's on me. I taught you what to expect from me. I'm teaching you something different now. Her eyes fill. Adam is mad, she says. Not at you, at me. He said we went too far, that I went too far, that if I don't change something, he doesn't know if he can do another 10 years like this. The words hang between us. I'm sorry, I say truly, that you're hurting, that he's hurting. She nods, biting her lip. This sucks, she says. It does, I agree. She hesitates. Can I call you? She asks. Like not about money or events. Just call. I nod. When you're ready, I say. On one condition. She raises an eyebrow. You're making conditions now? Just one, I say. No more jokes about that's what little sisters are for. Ever. She huffs out a laugh that has a crack in it. Deal. She steps over the threshold. For what it's worth, she says without turning around, you looked really happy in that photo. I smile despite myself. The door closes behind her. Ethan wraps his arms around me from behind. I sag against him, suddenly exhausted. Are you okay? He asks into my hair. I think about it. About the bill at Rosebridge that isn't mine. About the lake and the flowers and the way my grandma's hands shook when she buttoned my dress. About the little girl with the unicorn shirt who watched her sister open her birthday present. I'm sad, I say, and relieved, and angry, and hopeful, all at once. He nods against my head. Sounds about right. I look at the wedding photo on the shelf. I'm also free, I say. For the first time in my life, I think I'm actually free. A year later, November sunlight pours through the windows of our new apartment. Not huge, not flashy, but ours. I'm in the kitchen, arranging a vase of eucalyptus and deep red dahlias on the table while Ethan pulls a turkey out of the oven like a Food Network dad. On the wall above the couch hangs a framed collage of our lake wedding. One photo in particular draws my eye again and again. Mid-laugh, head thrown back, hand in Ethan's, eyes crinkled. I didn't even know I could laugh like that. Below the collage is another frame, a copy of a bank statement printout. $7,000 payment to Lake Pine Chapel in large. Underneath, in Ethan's neat handwriting, it says, Best investment in our future. The doorbell rings. Can you get that? Ethan asks, juggling oven mitts and roasting pans. I wipe my hands and open the door. Violet. No, not Violet. Melissa, my sister. She stands there in a plaid coat, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup except a hint of mascara. She looks tired, softer somehow. Hey, she says. Hey, I say. We stand there for a moment, the chilly hallway air curling around my bare ankles. I brought pie, she blurts, holding up a foil-covered dish. It's store-bought. I burned the first one. I smile. Come in. She steps inside, eyes scanning the room. They land on the collage and the framed statement. You really framed your, what did you call it, freedom fee? I shrug. It felt symbolic. She huffs a small laugh. You're such a designer, turning trauma into decor. Occupational hazard, I say, leading her toward the kitchen. Ethan looks up and grins. Hey, he says. You made it. Hi, she says, voice shy. Smells amazing. We all move around each other in the kitchen, an awkward choreography slowly smoothing out. Later, after my friends arrive, after Ethan's parents hug Melissa like they haven't seen her in years, after we all sit around the table and clink glasses to chosen family, she catches my eye. Can we talk? She asks quietly, nodding toward the balcony. We step out into the crisp November air, overlooking the jumble of Brooklyn rooftops. She leans against the railing. I've been going to therapy, she says without preamble. Adam insisted. Said we couldn't keep pretending we were in some kind of fairy tale where I'm the princess and everyone else is supporting cast. How's that going? I ask. She laughs, but it's not mean, horrible, she says. And good. My therapist says I have a fragile sense of self that relies on external validation and control, which is apparently not just a fun personality quirk, but a problem. I snort. Sounds about right. She rolls her eyes. You're not wrong. It's just weird, you know? Realizing you've been walking around with this script in your head that says you're owed things, that you deserve more than other people, and then realizing that script is trash. A nod. I had a script too, I say. Mine said I was lucky to be allowed near the stage at all. We stand in silence for a moment, city sounds drifting up. I'm sorry, she says suddenly, for what we did, for what I did, for the card, for the emails, for all of it. There's no flippancy, no half-smile, just steady eye contact. I know, I say. I mean it, she insists. I used you, repeatedly, because it was easy, because you let me. And then when you stopped letting me, I got mad, like a toddler. That's not who I want to be. Her voice cracks on the last word. What changed? I ask gently. She sighs, breath turning white in the air. Watching you walk out, she says. Watching you, actually. Do it. I kept thinking you'd come back, that you'd relent. When you didn't, it was like, well, if Harper can learn to say no, what does that mean about me? About what I've been doing all this time? I swallow. How's Mom? I ask, hesitating. She grimaces. Unwell. In denial. Defensive. You know. But she's also starting to crack. She told her book club that she might have made mistakes with how she handled us, which, for her, is like a full confession. I let out a surprised laugh. Wow. She wants to call you, Melissa adds, but she's scared. She thinks you hate her. I don't hate her, I say immediately. Melissa looks at me. I know that. But she doesn't. She's never had to sit in the discomfort of someone not instantly forgiving her. It's new. We stand in silence again. I don't know what the future for me and Mom looks like, I say honestly, but I'm open. If she can come to me as a person, not as a project manager for the brand of our perfect family. Melissa nods. I'll tell her. She hesitates. What about me? She asks, voice small. What does the future look like for us? I think of the two trajectories we've had, the one where I orbit her, the one where we never speak again. Maybe there's a third. I want you in my life, I say slowly, as my sister. Not as my creditor, not as my supervisor, just as Melissa, with all the mess that entails. She exhales a visible sag of relief. Okay, she says. I can, try that. I smile. Me too. Inside, someone turns up the music. My friend Kim laughs loudly at something Ethan's dad said. The warmth from the apartment spills out onto the balcony. Melissa bumps her shoulder lightly against mine. You know, she says, for what it's worth, you look different, Harp. How so? Lighter, she says. Less like you're bracing for impact. I look through the glass doors at Ethan, at my friends, at the life we've built in the aftermath. Yeah, quietly. It feels that way. She nudges me. So, any regrets? About all of it? I think about Rosebridge, about the $15,000 that funded her fairy tale 10 years ago, about the $7,000 that bought me a muddy-hemmed dress, wildflowers, and a vow that actually meant something. Some days, I admit, I wish it hadn't had to be so dramatic, that we could have just talked, that they could have just listened. Melissa nods. But, I continue, if the choices are losing $63,000 in my dignity, or losing $63,000 and keeping my dignity, I'll choose the latter every time. She smiles, small but genuine. You're really leaning into this UX metaphor for your life, huh? What can I say? I shrug. I did a full overhaul of my user flows. We laugh. Later, around the table, Ethan raises his glass. To a year of choosing ourselves, he says. To boundaries that don't break, Jessica adds. To responsibility that doesn't equal self-erasure, Abby throws in. Melissa catches my eye, lifts her glass too. To little sisters, she says softly. Not being used as family credit cards anymore. Everyone laughs. My throat tightens in that good way. Have you ever realized in one quiet, ordinary moment that the life you're living now is the one that younger you didn't even know she was allowed to ask for? Because that's what this feels like. Later, when the dishes are done and the guests have gone, Ethan and I curl up on the couch under a blanket. The city hums outside. The framed receipt on the wall catches the lamplight. Do you ever think about Rosebridge? He asks. Sometimes, I say. Usually when I see a chandelier. He chuckles. What do you think now? He asks. Looking back, I trace patterns on his arm with my fingertip. That sometimes the most expensive thing you can do is keep buying into a role that's killing you, I say. And that sometimes the only way out is to pay a different price. One that looks scary up front, but ends up being the best deal you've ever made. He kisses my forehead. Deep. Sometimes I wonder, I admit, if I should have handled it differently, confronted them earlier, stopped it before they signed anything, sat them down with a mediator. All the theoretical, healthier ways. Maybe, he says. But you did the best you could with what you had. And you still got here. He gestures toward the room. The photos. The life. Yeah, I say. I think of you, the person somehow reading this whole messy saga. Have you ever had to burn down a version of your life to build a better one on the ashes? What would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed at Rosebridge, smiling for the cameras, while your bank account quietly bled out? Or would you have walked out into the unknown? Clutching nothing but a handful of boundaries and a fiancé who refused to let you be anything less than the main character. Sometimes, in a culture that worships family first, the bravest thing you can do is say, me too. Not instead of them, but not after them forever either. Just with them. And if they can't handle that, then maybe it's time to start defining family by love and respect, not by shared DNA and shared debt. If you've ever had to choose between your dignity and your place at the Paula's table between being the responsible one and being a whole person, just know this. Your worth is not measured in checks you can write to keep everyone else comfortable. Your boundaries are not cruelty. And your freedom? It might cost you. Money, approval, old pictures and old dining rooms. But I'm telling you, from the other side of that door I finally closed, Some receipts are worth framing.